This video was a little more ambitious than I had thought it would be in terms of the logistics of getting it done, but it had to be done because ever since the NEETPG exam was postponed indefinitely, most of you have been just struggling to keep yourself on track. So I figured even if I come with a bulletproof strategy, you will not follow it because that's the problem when you have to study without a date. So this is what I did. I asked a few of my Instagram followers who I know for a fact were decently preparing before the postponement to share their strategies and plans so that when you hear them, you can hopefully be inspired to make your own strategy and overcome this slump of uncertainty. But the challenge was no one wanted to share their strategy because of number one, nazar lag jayegi, number two, competition बढ़ जाएगा, number three, if they don't succeed themselves, फिर लोग क्या कहेंगे? And that's the reason they only agreed to do this if I keep them anonymous or use their pseudonyms. I'm again very thankful to all of them for doing this service for the community. So without further ado, let's get on with it. So hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Dr. Abbas Ali, a full-time orthopedic surgeon and a faculty of orthopedics and also a part-time YouTuber. So this is what I did. I asked all the participants a series of questions trying to learn their strategies. Then I tried to dig deeper to simplify it so that you can understand better. I'll be presenting you the parts of the conversation that were awesome, but if you want to go and listen to each individual completely, be sure to subscribe to my podcast. I will publish those in a matter of few hours now. Links will be there down in the description. So let me just tell you who these four guests are. I have Aspiring Orthopod, I have A Doctor's Journey, I have Learning Life Saving, I have Doctor's Project, and someone named Dr. M from Pune, and that's how he wanted me to address him. And let me just tell you what are the common things among all of them. The first thing was that all of them were droppers, so they had already attempted the NEETPG. The second thing was two of them were pure Marrow users, means that was their primary source of study. One of them was a pure offline student. One of them used Marrow and offline, and another user was a Marrow user and he also used another online platform. Now, the common things, like I said, were they were droppers and all of them finished their first reading by August, September, one of them by October as well. And they had started their revisions before INI set. Some finished, some didn't, and some were happy, some were unhappy because of this postponement, and I will listen into this with you. Some took a break after INI set, some were burnt out, and some learned some important, valuable lessons. So let's just listen in and see what they were talking about. So this is Doctor's Journey telling his reaction immediately after the postponement.
What was your initial reaction once the announcement was made that the exam is getting postponed?
I was in a bad shape because of the exam, and when I heard that, I'm not going to lie, I was kind of happy. I thought that the universe had given me another chance, some time thrown at me, ki go, take it, just do it, that kind. And I was happy initially, but then when I realized ki, okay, I don't have a deadline, I don't know how to go about it, that's when it hit me. That's when I realized, okay, this is bigger than what it seems like. This is something deep. And like getting back on track has been quite a lot of work, and in all honesty, the way all of the social media was that I was consuming was everybody was rejoicing just like I did in the initial first reaction. Everybody was happy, making reels and being super active on Instagram, and it kind of like really took away the essence of preparation, the essence of being on track and hustling. वो चला गया, and it took me a while to realize कि okay, this is why I'm not getting back on track. I'm consuming a lot of content that's not about staying on track. It's about rejoicing and having fun. So that's when I had to really be strict with myself, and I ruthlessly, put people on mute and had to like decide what content I see in my feed.
वो immediately हुआ ना. I mean, once everybody realized it's going to be in March and April, everybody thought कि यार 3 months है, it's so much time, we can do so much. And I myself, I mean, although I don't follow a lot of people on Instagram, and the ones I do, I've realized that they have suddenly become active. My feed was getting updated quite frequently, and I was like, ये क्या हो रहा है? I mean, why is this happening? And I think at that time, I made a point to come live on Instagram. I told everybody, what are you guys doing? 10th January should be the date for you. Buckle up and keep on going till 10th Jan.
Obviously, aspiring orthopod also didn't adapt very well for this postponement, and this is what she had to say.
Now that we don't have any date to go by, what have been your redundancy plans? How are you going to adapt to this disruption?
Oh, I didn't adapt very well initially. So 2-3 days I did slack off. I hardly studied for 4-5 hours, and I'm like, hey, okay, it's going to be 3 more months, so let's take some time and we'll see. So we've got a break now. And I think that night you came on a live and you said, keep it as Jan 10th, keep the exam date as Jan 10th, even in your head right now, and keep going. Like finish it then and then take your break.
Right, because you guys already, had that momentum going on, and if you just stop abruptly, it will take a lot of time to get back the same momentum. So I just felt continue the momentum, because you'll cover a lot of syllabus if you maintain the same momentum. And then once Jan 10th is over, we can hopefully have some clarity with dates, and you would have not wasted a lot of your time.
So I'm like, you know what? I was already in that zone of pushing myself. I should just keep pushing till Jan 10th and do it.
On the other hand, Learning Life Saving was a bit disappointed because of the postponement, because she couldn't understand whether she would sustain it or not. But this is a very valuable lesson that she learned from this.
So initially I felt little concerned that how will I sustain my enthusiasm and momentum of study. So I kept targeting to finish a quick revision of 19 subjects in the month of December within a span of 30 days. But then I realized in rushing to finish them all, I'm having a pile of backlogs. So actually this extra time was a blessing in disguise.
Okay. So she figured she would use that time to complete her backlogs. Now I want you to listen closely to these two people, Doctor's Journey and a Doctor's Project. Both of them actually talk about the burnout post INI set, and there is a valuable lesson to learn here. Post INI set, they wasted a lot of time, and they will tell you why.
Because after INI, I wasted like a good whole week just doing nothing, just being absolutely nothing.
Why is that most of the students I've spoken to wasted a lot of time after INI set? Do you know anything that you have done wrong, or in terms of planning or strategizing or keeping yourself motivated? Why did you waste in a week or 10 days after INI set?
Because prior to the INI, those 15-20 days were like really intense. There was a whole lot of stuff that needed to be done, and the whole intensity basically with which I was studying led to me being really exhausted. So one of the strategies that I'm going to follow after the exam is not to just go on a good speed, but not to burn out. So I've decided to take strategic breaks so that I don't burn myself out. So basically, as a treat for working hard and getting my job done all week, I'm going to take a break like every Saturday evening and just chill and spend time with my family, maybe binge on Netflix, so that I can get back on track the next day.
These breaks basically rejuvenate you and prepare you for the next busy week. Very good. And this is where Doctor's Journey talks about planned breaks, which I personally feel is a very, very important thing that most of us ignore.
Sir, I think the reason was before INI set, I was really motivated and I had completely disregarded the importance of having planned breaks. I had spent a lot of time every single day on my desk reading, gathering theory, doing MCQs, putting a lot of effort because the exam meant a lot. And what I realized was not giving myself those breaks when immediately after the exam, it kind of just precipitated out. It blew in my face. My body gave
classical knee-jerk reaction. You just went overboard. You were burnt out, and you needed that relaxation. Now, apart from that burnout thing, there were some valuable lessons these people learned post INI set. And I like how Dr. Project talks about dealing with her demons first, because that's something we don't do. We tend to we gravitate towards easier subjects and topics first. I think it's a good idea to address the problems and the elephants in the room before you deal with easy subjects, and that's what she was talking about there. So now I want to understand, what were these lacunae and weakness in your preparation that you realized after INI set?
So after INI, I realized that there were a few subjects that needed my attention, and I needed more of memorization. I needed to spend more time on active memorization of the subjects.
Mm-hmm.
So
the concepts were clear, but there were facts and information that you needed to memorize.
Yes, there were more information that I needed to memorize.
Okay.
Earlier after INI, if the exam was on say 10th January, I was going to basically start revision with the subjects I'm good at, fast, so that I can revise faster, so that close to the exam I can be comfortable and work on the things that I keep forgetting.
All right.
But after the exam was delayed, I decided to deal with the demons, basically the things that haunt me forever in the exam.
Awesome.
So
yeah, so your modification of your strategy post INI set and post delay of the exam date was to, deal with the demons first and then go with the easy subjects later. So up till now, I'm sure all of you have understood that all of these people had a general idea that they wanted to finish everything that they set out to finish by first week or the second week of January, hoping, although they knew that the exam was getting postponed, they didn't want to break the momentum. So they kept their milestone as the first week or the second week of January. But what if the exam isn't on the first or the second week of January? What is their real plan now? That's what we're going to talk about. Now, what if we don't have any clarity in terms of date even then? What is your plan? What is your next plan?
So if by then, if we still don't know the dates, I will take a break till maybe Jan 13th. And then I'm planning to, Feb 14th is my next hard stop. So Feb 14th AIIMS has another CBT. So I want to finish one round of revisions by Feb first week, because now I've done the notes recently. It shouldn't take as much time as it took the last time. So it should be less. And then the last week is again for DVT and AIIMS capture.
Got it. Yeah, obviously the time should be less than your previous revisions. Otherwise you're not revising, you're reading it for the first time.
So I think that's a very straightforward strategy, revising what you have read. But now listen to Learning Life Savings. She had a very unique strategy for revisions, and I think this will be helpful to break the monotony.
Right. So now you're targeting till 3rd of January as your hard stop for this revision.
Yes,
what after that? What's your plan after that? What if the dates are not announced then?
So whatever backlogs I have even after Jan 3rd, I will stop it right over there, and I want to have a good quality revision from Jan 3rd, which I have planned is supposed to extend till 23rd of February.
Okay.
So whole of Jan and almost whole of February month, I'll utilize in a good quality revision, which I have planned to do in a pile of subjects, 3-4 subjects, and then a fast track revision of those 3-4 subjects, and like that, not going all 19 subjects together, just breaking them and a fast revision of them.
So essentially what you mean to say is you are not going to do 19 subjects all together, one after another. Instead, you're having this batched approach where you want to do 4 or 5 subjects and then revise them quickly, and then do another batch of 4 or 5 subjects and then revise them quickly. Awesome. I like that. It keeps you interested, number one, and it feels like you have reviewed them multiple times before you finish the whole cycle.
Batched approach. I think that's awesome. You can try that if you feel bored with the subjects that you're revising. Now, Mr. M from Pune shares something important about medicine. A lot of us, leave out medicine because it is enormous. And the last time we spoke, he was a gentleman who planned to actually leave out medicine, only focus on the key topics in medicine. But because of this extra time that he has now, he has changed his strategy. Let's listen in.
So basically, I've decided till the end of December, the few topics that I had left, I'm going to finish medicine and a little bit of pathology.
Right. So last time I remember you were on live with me on Instagram and you said that you were not going to read medicine completely. In fact, you were only going to focus on high yield topics and previous year questions. Has that changed? Will you start doing medicine more now?
Yes, sir. I plan to finish most of it, and if possible, the entire thing.
Right.
Because I've seen medicine relates to all the subjects and all the subjects relate to medicine. If you've done that well, it helps a lot. You're able to answer questions that are not even from medicine. And I just feel like it is better to take advantage of an opportunity when it's being given.
Right. So when are you going to finish doing all of this that you have set out to do?
Sir, I plan to finish my remaining topics in the next 7 days.
Right. What is your next move?
So the moment 1st Jan comes, I'm going to stop studying anything new. I would rather enter the battlefield knowing how to use a knife well than a bazooka and not having ever shot it in my life.
I like that analogy.
He's probably a PUBG player. What I admire about that strategy is that he's planning to do something that is more valuable to him in terms of the exam and not starting to do everything or exploring areas that are unnecessary. And this is what Doctor's Journey talks about. And this is how he will prevent his greed to read. Let's listen in.
Another thing I want to ask you on this, because of the sudden availability of time capsule, a lot of people thought they can actually go and venture into the areas that they were not explored previously. For example, a Marrow student suddenly started feeling the need to go and start doing the question bank from other platform, or some other platform student started doing question banks from other platforms. So they started exploring new options and avenues, which I preferably call the greed to read. What was your response to this? I mean, did you fall prey to this?
Looking at people trying to gather more information was definitely tempting. मुझे भी लगा कि I should venture into more territory, but then I realized, number one, I am slow. I am not as fast as other people. Second, the current syllabus that I have to cover, मेरा वही अच्छे से नहीं हुआ है, तो who am I to venture into uncharted territory? So I definitely had to tell myself that I need to keep faith in my own resources. Those are my Bible, so I'm just absolutely sticking to that. I have theory. I don't think I'd want to spend more time learning more things. I just want to apply the things that I already know, and I want to understand how questions are framed, how options are presented to me, and what is the thought process of the examiner behind placing it like that.
Yeah.
Once I get a hold of that, that's the idea of these next 2 months.
Right. So you're saying basically you have consumed enough theory. It is time that you apply this theory in answering MCQs, real clinical scenarios, to get the answer correct, because that is the end point. Now keeping that in mind, let me just tell you that marathon is coming up in January. I think it will be a perfect time for you to participate in that and get your MCQ practice on. What do you think? How will that help you? Will you participate?
Sir, I have participated in all previous marathons and I will participate in this one too. The previous ones weren't as fruitful for me because I had not gathered enough knowledge to attempt all of the required questions in the same day. And it had brought me to a question mark, am I doing enough? Am I being right? But this one I feel like would be the most fruitful for me because now I have a theory bank and now I know how to convert it into a question bank. So I'll be able to use this one the best possible way.
Now, while we are on the topic of marathon, I asked a few more people how it helped them, and let's listen in and understand how they were actually benefiting. Now, what about marathon and study revolution? It's going to come up now, and are you going to participate? How has it helped you? Can you just talk about that and let us know?
Yeah, so funnily enough, marathon always comes at a time when our own loyalty to Q Bank is dwindling. So yes, definitely I'm going to be even before I've always, it's mostly like a challenge, keeps you going. It helps you realize that you're not alone. Right. Because when you're studying at home alone, you tend to forget that there are more like 1 lakh people also preparing for the exam, and it helps you realize that basically sets you on fire.
Right. That is the whole purpose, right? So because we are a data-driven platform, we understand when students stop doing questions, we understand when students stop doing videos, and the whole purpose of pushing a marathon is at the time when a lot of people stop doing a lot of questions. And that is when we strategically push these marathons so that students can participate and finish the Q banks, because I keep telling this again and again, Q Bank is a learning tool, it's not a testing tool. You learn information from that. If you want to test yourself, do the grand tests.
No, so it's actually always comfortable to just sit and read your notes, but doing questions is what makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, notes are just gathering information. Practicing questions is basically helping you apply what you have read in the exam scenario.
Right. So doing questions makes her uncomfortable, and doing uncomfortable things gives you comfortable results. Please understand that. And finally, this is what Learning Life Saving had to say about study revolution and marathons and everything together. And I think she summed it up very well.
And then regarding the MCQs, it builds a habit, like set number of MCQs, solving them daily. It builds a habit to maintain the balance between understanding concepts that we are reading from the notes and then applying them in the MCQs.
Because that is what's going to happen in the exam, right? You're going to apply the things that you have read. Just continuously reading the notes again and again is not going to help unless you start applying the information that you've acquired in a question or a clinical scenario, and that is what the exam is going to test. And that is the whole purpose behind pushing this marathon on students, to keep on doing questions as many as possible every day. And I hope all of you listening to this podcast or watching me today learn that principle that we are trying to, learn that habit that we are trying to incorporate in all of you. Practice MCQs every day.
Now, before we go further and talk about grant tests and how they do MCQs, now Dr. M from Pune actually had a very interesting strategy for doing question banks. Let's listen in and understand what he talks about. It's kind of like warming up, exercising, and then cooling down. It's very interesting. Listen in.
Generally, but on a day-to-day basis, what will be your approach to the MCQs or the notes that you're going to revise?
Now, how I start is I start with progressive overload. In the morning, I feel very lazy. I don't want to study. So I'll generally start a custom module of 20 questions.
Okay.
And I'll put it on the easiest questions just so that I feel a little bit more confident.
Awesome.
I'll do 2-3 of those modules, and by the time my brain is a little warmed up, after that I start doing the Q bank.
Okay. So you train with the Q bank like it's a gym exercise.
Yes, sir. Because so if you go into the day thinking you have to do 300 questions or 400 questions, you're going to give up within the first 2 minutes.
Right.
But if you go and say, I'm just going to do 20 questions, you might have a bit more success, at least in my opinion.
No, you're absolutely right. And that is the only reason I don't go to the gym.
So once I have done this, sir, what I do is I'll start my Q bank. And what I've realized is there's a very limited amount of period in the day when you're productive. I think 3 to 4 hours. So once I start my questions, I have realized that in my opinion, I'm productive for not more than 3 to 4 hours a day. And by productive, what I'm trying to say is when I can actually understand and I don't feel exhausted or distracted, or I want to get up from my seat, go get something to eat, coffee, anything to distract myself.
Right.
In that time, I like to study my most difficult topics, or if I don't know what the difficult topics are, the biggest question banks, like the ones with 40 questions, the 39 question ones.
Got it.
And by the end of the day, I'm doing the ones with 10, 12, 15 questions because I know they'll end quickly and I can go home after that.
I really like that. He starts with easy questions, does the most difficult questions in the Q bank in the most optimal time of his day, and then again ends the day with easy questions. Wonderful. Now in this part, aspiring orthopod talks about how grant test basically keeps her in check and keeps her motivated to study because studying is boring.
What about the questions? Are you practicing the questions every day? What about the status of grant tests?
Yes, sir. So I think the only thing which is helping break the monotony is giving a grant test every Sunday. So I've kind of charted how much I've been scoring correct, the number of corrects. So every Sunday is like a little push. I'm like, okay, I'm in the right direction. I just need to keep pushing. So though it feels like this is never ending, that opportunity to improve a little bit more is pushing me to keep going on. And during the week, every day I give 75 MCQs in 1 hour. So I don't do more than that.
Right. So every day you do 75 MCQ practice. So something from anywhere, any question bank that you can pick up, start practicing MCQs on a daily basis. And if you're a Marrow user, we have marathon coming up. We will ask you to do modules every day, and that way we are basically asking you to do questions that will help you, and we are going to offer you prizes for doing that. But that is very important because it keeps you, lubricated for the practice of MCQs, number one. And grant test, I think for you, grant test, doctor, is something that you look forward to at the end of the week to see your progress. And that progress again gives you that motivation to go further. Otherwise it's very difficult place to be in right now.
And now Dr. Journey here, who basically also runs a hashtag called GT Sunday, talks about how grant test basically helps him not only see his progression but also helps in revision. Let's see what he has to say.
What about grant tests? How are you doing it? And are they helpful? What is your opinion about grant test as of right now?
Sir, I've been attempting grant tests since the very beginning of my preparation. Even when I had not done one subject, my beginning started...
So you started grant tests yesterday?
Yes, sir, I did. Because my preparation started with a video of yours. And it said that even if you've done nothing, you start your preparation with a grant test. So that's how it started. I started with an absolute zero knowledge bank and I gave a test and see mera baseline kya hai. And wahan se how it started. And I've tried to give a test every Sunday. Sometimes I miss, sometimes I don't, but every week on and off, I try and give one GT for sure.
Right. So for people who don't know this, Mukund has started hashtag GT Sunday wala, and right. So GT Sunday, hashtag GT Sunday. So all of these, all of these challenges I see, right? And they're part of this beautiful revolution that we have on Studygrams or Instagram. So Study Revolution was started like that, and many people have all these challenges they put up. GT Sunday GT challenge is wonderful, and a lot of people are participating in that. Now, yes, is your score improving every week? That is the most important question.
I've been in a plateau for a while, sir. At least after INI set, it has been difficult to break that plateau. What I look forward to is not exactly what my score is, but I try to make sure that the subject that I've revised in the previous week, uske sab questions sahi ho.
Right.
Like, that is my main goal every week. कि अगर इस हफ्ते फार्मा किया है, तो फार्मा में गलती नहीं होनी चाहिए. It's evident हम भूलते हैं, we forget a lot, but that does not mean कि we disregard whatever current preparation level.
Right, and I'm sure you realize that once you complete a few cycles of revision, your scores will start jumping exponentially.
I hope so, sir. I hope so, sir. I hope so.
Here, learning life saving basically reinforces the fact that she's hopeful that her scores will improve once she finishes a few cycles of revision.
What are you doing with grand tests?
So grand test I'm targeting to do once weekly.
Okay.
Yeah, so till my first reading was over from around September, October, my marks were kind of static. Only 2%, 3% improvement was there. But after my first revision was over, it is improving little. And so I see the improvement from the plateau phase.
And it gives you the confidence and motivation to move forward, right?
Yeah, by repeated revision, I guess it will improve much.
It's not about guess. It's a simple mathematical game. You will revise, your scores will improve. It has to improve unless they start adding new subjects, which is not going to happen.
And here Dr. M from Pune is basically seeing progression in his GT scores, and that is what is keeping him hopeful about his strategy.
What about the GTs? You said you're doing GTs and you're planning to do more GTs. Are you seeing a progression in score, or have you hit a plateau?
No, so I'm seeing a progression because I'll be honest, the first ever GT I gave, I scored 92. Then this time I met you, my score was 250. Now my score has reached 400, and I'm hoping to get it to at least a minimum of 700 before the government decides to surprise us.
Now, Doctor's project is basically hit a plateau, and she's hopeful that her scores will improve. But this is what is interesting. She's using QBank in a unique way for revision, and let's see how.
So for now, I'm trying to do GTs every week so that I can basically as a means to revise subjects other than the subject I'm already doing, because it gets like a grand view of the things. Ultimately, it's all going to be together. So, and for now, my score is actually plateauing, and I'm hoping to see improvement as I continue with the revision of the things I'm weak at.
What about MCQ practice? Are you doing MCQ practice on a daily basis?
Yes, sir. I'm trying to do QBank, but in a non-parallel way, so that I'm not working on questions that of the topic that I'm studying, but of the topic that maybe I've already studied. So if I've studied, say, dermatology last week, then I'll do dermatology QBank this week.
Okay.
Which will actually be a second revision for the subject.
All right. So I like that. So it basically, it keeps you in touch of the subject as well as helps in you,
yes,
helps revising parallelly, and also not doing the same thing again. Because if you read something in the morning and do the MCQs in the evening, there is a very high chance that you will get all of them correct, and that is pseudo confidence, right?
Yes. So basically, the subjects I did last week is the QBank I'll be solving this week.
Now I basically tried to probe them and ask them if the exam date isn't revealed by, say, mid-February and March as well, what is your next plan of action? This is where things get interesting, and this is what they had to say. First aspiring orthopod.
Unfortunately, since the things are not still clear, what if the date is not announced by then as well? What is your redundancy then?
Oh God, I think I'll repeat. There's nothing else to do. I will take a break again for 2-3 days and then go back to the same strategy, because I think that's the only thing which is working right now.
And again, the gym dude Dr. M still talks about protecting himself from burnout.
Right. What if the exam is postponed? If you're given a few more weeks to study, what are you going to do in those weeks?
Then sir, take 2 hours more break a day, study and keep revising, because I think burnouts happen when you overwork yourself. It's like going to the gym, sir. Even when you go to the gym, you have to give yourself 2 days rest.
I wouldn't know anything about the gym.
That's where most of my analogies come from, sir.
Right. I think that's where your discipline also comes from.
I asked Dr. M what his predicament would be if the exam is actually preponed, and I was happy with his confidence, and I think you should learn something from here.
What is your contingency if it is preponed?
So if it's preponed, number one, I had already started my revisions before INI CET.
Right.
So I am not completely under the water.
Right.
I have faith that I'll be able to get a decent result if and only if I'm able to have the discipline and the mindset and the beliefs to follow this plan, not burn out, and make sure that I'm giving GTs, reviewing them, and sticking to it as much as possible.
Also, Doctor's project here has a secret weapon to help her keep on track.
One last question, Doctor. Do you have some secret formula that keeps you motivated to keep on studying? Because there is no end sight to this exam and we don't know how long it will take before it. Do you have someone who pushes you to do this difficult task of studying every day?
So nobody can stay motivated 24/7. That is actually not possible. And nobody can even stay disciplined 24/7. So as much as I hate to say this, people usually hate when their parents nag them over things कि जाओ जाके पढ़ो, नहीं time waste नहीं करना. But at this point, क्योंकि मुझे पता है I'm loitering around or wasting my time, I've actually given them full liberty. कि जब भी मैं आपको time waste करती हूँ, they could just tell me, go to your room and study. And I'm not even going to mind it.
Right.
Even though it drives me mad.
Yeah. So your parents are the ones who are keeping check on you and pushing you and preventing you from wasting a lot of time.
Yes, they are the watchmen.
And finally, we are ending the conversation with Doctor's Journey and Aspiring Orthopod, asking about what if the exam dates are still not clear, even if we reach mid-March. And this is what they had to finally say. And I conclude the whole conversation with them.
If the exam is not in second week of March and it is pushed even further, what would be your next plan of action after that?
Sir, that just thinking about that gives me chills, because having to repeat this cycle, such a stressful cycle again will be difficult for sure. But I hope I can derive some inspiration from one of your videos and just get myself going. That's all I hope for. I'm really not sure आगे क्या करेंगे, but कुछ तो कर लेंगे sir. कुछ तो कर लेंगे.
Right. Well, I can understand. It is so hard. Trust me, it is so hard. Because you don't have that feeling of novelty anymore. You have read the subject multiple times. You have looked at it from all the angles. So there is no novelty factor. You're just repeating it again and again. And it is so monotonous and so boring. I just wish and pray that you have the courage and energy to go through that cycle a few more times till the actual date comes. And I wish you all the best and thank you for sharing your strategy with everyone. And I hope people listening and watching this find some value in this conversation. Thank you for being a part of this.
Thank you for having me.
And Aspiring Orthopod.
So thank you for sharing your strategy, Doctor. I wish you all the best and I hope we get some clarity in terms of when the exam will be, so that all of you can put your energies in one direction without getting distracted a lot.
Like, they're not even telling which month. It's like April, March or April, and so the ambiguity sometimes drives you crazy.
Right,
but I have to keep reminding myself that the goal is it should be out of reach but not out of sight. So you have to keep getting back to your table and finishing what you have to do.
Right. I wish you all the best, Doctor. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
All right, guys, those are the best bits of the conversation. If you want to listen in to the whole conversation, feel free to subscribe to my podcast on Spotify or Apple Music or wherever, and you will find those individual conversations on the podcast. So if this video helped you in any way, don't forget to click the thumbs up button and share this video with your friends. If you have not already subscribed to the channel, consider subscribing. It encourages me to make more content like this. If you have any concerns, queries or problems, leave them in the comment section below. I will try to reply them as soon as possible. I guess that's it. I will see you on the other side. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.